in the first half. For me, Man City were very poor in the first half. Let's be real. They were very, very poor. They made Spurs look like a good team. I'm not going to run with narrative, the fact that makes it seem as if Spurs are this magnificent team. They are not a magnificent team. See, Man City are not the Man City of 2 or 3 years ago. The Man City that was very flawless. They moved the ball real quick, very unpredictable in the front lines. They had interchangeable forwards, Jesus, Sterling, Aguero, Bernardo Silva, interchanging the forward line. Now, this year they brought in Haaland, who for me is a fantastic goal scorer. I would say fantastic goal scorer, but he's not a world-class or fantastic footballer. There's a difference. Helen Holland starts on scoring doesn't affect the game the way the likes of Jesus or Aguero or Sterling will affect the game. His hold-up play is shit. His build-up play is shit. His dribble is very average. So his pace is decent, but he won't give you any other thing than goal scoring. And we know he has scored 22 goals in 19 games. That's very phenomenal. That's world-class numbers in terms of scoring goals. But in terms of what he gives to the team, generally, he's not that great. And for Spurs, let's call it what it is. Spurs have been conceding the first goals in any match they play for the last 10 games. Now, against Man City, they scored first because, in my opinion, someone might debate it. Man City were very poor. You look at I watched the game. I'm sure some of you watched the game. Let's be objective. The first half, Man City were very slow, just like the way they played against Manchester United. Congratulations to Man City beating Spurs 4-2, coming back from the 2-0 down in the first half. For me, Man City were very poor in the first half. Let's be real. They were very, very poor. They made Spurs look like a good team. I'm not going to run with narrative, the fact that makes it seem as if Spurs are this magnificent team. They are not a magnificent team. See, Man City are not the Man City of 2 or 3 years ago. The Man City that was very flawless. They moved the ball real quick, very unpredictable in the front lines. They had interchangeable forwards, Jesus, Sterling, Aguero, Bernardo Silva, interchanging the forward line. Now, this year they brought in Haaland, who for me is a fantastic goal scorer. I would say fantastic goal scorer, but he's not a world-class or fantastic footballer. There's a difference. Helen Holland starts on scoring doesn't affect the game the way the likes of Jesus or Aguero or Sterling will affect the game. His hold-up play is shit. His build-up play is shit. His dribble is very average. So his pace is decent, but he won't give you any other thing than goal scoring. And we know he has scored 22 goals in 19 games. That's very phenomenal. That's world-class numbers in terms of scoring goals. But in terms of what he gives to the team, generally, he's not that great. And for Spurs, let's call it what it is. Spurs have been conceding the first goals in any match they play for the last 10 games. Now, against Man City, they scored first because, in my opinion, someone might debate it. Man City were very poor. You look at I watched the game. I'm sure some of you watched the game. Let's be objective. The first half, Man City were very slow, just like the way they played against Manchester United in the first half, moving the ball very slowly. There was no urgency. We know in the second half they picked it up. There was a bit of urgency in their play, but the first half they were very pedestrian, sideways, forward. There was no penetration. There was no energy. There's no urgency in the game, and Spurs took advantage and scored two fortuitous goals. The first goal from Kulusevski was a mistake by what's his name, the goalkeeper Emerson. That was a gift from Emerson. Second goal to ricochets off the defender, and Emerson Royal nods it home. 2 goals. Now, I was expecting Spurs, who notoriously play well in the second half, to come out in the second half, maybe add 1 more or 2 goals, or defend proficiently. But I wasn't surprised the way they imploded and the way they collapsed. We know Conte is trying to play a defensive game with players that are not good at defending. Make it make sense. The media have been pushing this narrative that how Conte is a world-class manager. I've never seen him as a world-class manager, but let's go with narrative. Maybe he used to be a world-class manager, just like Jose used to be fantastic. But in the last few years, Jose has been struggling. Conte has been struggling. If you do not buy certain players for Conte, he does not know how to improvise with the players he has at hand. For me, Spurs squad is not as bad as Conte is making him to look like. I know they could bring in better players, but let's look at the squad. It's not as bad as the way Conte is making him to look like. Now, the way I look at Spurs, they've lost their last. If you look at the record, right, they've lost their last few matches. Let me check real quick, so I make sure I'm delivering facts. Let me look at their form. They've lost their last 3 matches. That's a terrible record. That's a terrible record. If you look at the table, Spurs they are 5th on the table. They've played 20 games. They've won 10, lost 7, and drawn 3. That is not a world-class statistics to look at. They've played 20 games, more than a lot of the teams in the English Premiership. They've won just 10, which is half, 50% of their games. They've lost 7, and they've drawn 3. So it's not good enough. I understand how Gary Neville, Sky Sport, Talksport try to paint the narrative that Spurs are a decent team, they're a good team, and Conte is a fantastic manager. I disagree. I think Spurs are not as bad as they're painting them, but they are not as good as a top 4 team. If you take away Harry Kane from that squad, they're toothless. Let's be real. If you take away Harry Kane from the Spurs team, they're toothless. Kulusevski is decent. If you notice, when we brought in, what's his name, Nicolas Pepe, the press, the media were keen to rip him apart, to scrutinize him. Nobody seemed to scrutinize Richarlison, who is yet to score a single goal for Spurs. £60 million player, yet to score a single goal after 20 games. He's yet to score a single goal for Spurs. Nobody's talking about that. That silence is deafening. Romero was hoisted to be one of the top defenders that Spurs brought in. He's bang average. Very rash. Yeah. Once in a while, he'll put in a good tackle. It doesn't make him a fantastic defender. He's an average defender. Dyer, bang average. Longley from Barcelona on loan, bang average. The midfield, Højbjerg, decent. Bentancur, decent. Harry Kane is the only good player in that team. The other players are very average to decent players. But at the same time, that doesn't permit them to lose the way they've been losing. If you compare the Spurs team to maybe Brentford, like the Spurs team should be doing better than Brentford, but are they? If you look at the statistics, your eye test, does that show you a team being coached by a world-class manager? I don't think so. But yet the media will make you believe Antonio Conte is a world-class manager. He has no fault in this. Let's blame Levy and let's blame the players. I think other managers can actually get a bit more from these players than Antonio Conte is getting from them. A decent manager will get a bit more from these players. But Conte, he has been moaning and whinging for the last few weeks. I'm going to say we know when Conte begins to moan and whinge, he will self-sabotage the team. He stopped getting animated on the touchline. He started giving very, very, very what would be the right word? I chose my words carefully. He started giving interviews that are a bit suggestive, backhanded complimentary interviews to the press. We saw the press conference preceding this match, him talking about maybe the sporting director or the owners of the club should come and be granted to come and give the vision of the team, which is ludicrous in my opinion. He likes to deflect. It's never his fault. It's either the owner's fault, the sporting director's fault, the player's fault. It's never Conte's fault. And the press runs with this narrative. But shout out to Man City. I'm not going to take anything away from them. That was a fantastic comeback for Man City from 2-0 down in the first half. Came back, added a bit of urgency to the game. and they scored 4 fantastic goals. Mahrez was very instrumental. Alvarez had a good game. Haaland scored a goal today. Mahrez was fantastic. In my opinion, the man of the match, deserved to be man of the match. Like I still insist, watching Man City, I'm not convinced they will go on this 10 or 15 games run that the press is always pushing. This Man City do not have the same swagger of the Man City that was going on those 10 games winning streak. They don't have the swagger. The chopping and changing shows that Pep himself, he's not too confident about his first 11. He is not, even though we know Pep naturally or notoriously likes to chop and change. But this team does not have the verve, it does not have the aura or the confidence or the arrogance of the team that goes on 10, 15 winning streak of the past Man City team. This team defensively are gettable. They are pregnable. They can be penetrated. Akanji doesn't feel confidence. Stones is a good defender on its day, but sometimes he has those bozo genes in him. Laporte, there's no consistency in the back line. Diaz injured. So I do not believe this Man City team can go on a 10 to 15 game winning run. I don't think so. I don't think so. My eye don't tell me that. The statistics don't show that. If you compare this team to the Arsenal team, which team looks more like can go on an extended winning run? For me, even though I'm an Arsenal fan, let's look at the logic. Let's be objective. I think the Arsenal team has more swagger, plays more well. Like Arsenal has been playing the best football in England. Arsenal have the first 11, in my opinion, play better than the first 11 of Manchester City this season. So I'm sorry, I'm not running with the narrative of the press that Manchester City will go on that run. They're still a very good team, and I think they'll push Arsenal. They'll fight for the title, but I don't think they have the team that can go on that extended winning run that they used to do. Because I understand they've done it before, but you have to look at new information they were presented with. Bernardo Silva doesn't seem like same Bernardo Silva. De Bruyne has been very inconsistent this season. Haaland, a good goal scorer, but not for me a good team player. So there are so many things that makes it look like they can that gives you that will actually make the logic seem rational that they can't go on that extended winning streak. They can't. Because I think if it was Brentford or Brighton that had 2 goals up in the first half, best believe Man City do not equalize or win that game. They might equalize at best. They do not win that game. Against Brentford, they didn't come back and win that game. Against Newcastle, they were very lucky to get a draw. Best believe against Southampton, they could not come back in the Carabao Cup to win the game. So best believe if this was another thing aside from Spurs, Man City are not coming back from 2 goals down to win that match. But shout out to them and commiserations to Spurs. Like I said in the beginning of the season, Spurs are a decent team, but they are not as good as their fans think they are, or the media is hyping them. If you like my content, I have not subscribed, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, very, very important. Make sure you like the video for the growth of the channel and for the algorithm, very, very important. And do not forget to turn on your notifications so when I post these videos, you can get notifications, and I'll see you guys on the next one.